For all you Groundhoppers out there, this podcast is for you.
This meeting is being recorded.
This is the FANA Fan Podcast, and I'm Topliss, and for all you Groundhoppers out there, this podcast is for you. So for those who watch my blog of Shelburne, you'll know a fan that we met there. His name was Darragh. Hello. To be joined with him tonight. How are we doing, fella?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Great stuff. Thank you very much for coming on. It's the first time I've had someone from overseas on the podcast.
Yeah, shouldn't be the last as well.
Hope not. I certainly hope not. So, Darragh O'Brien from Dublin.
Yep.
North of Dublin.
Yep.
So, tell us, how did you get into football, fella?
Originally, it was my dad. So, as well as being a Shelburne fan, I'm also a Newcastle fan. Now, you might say, an Irish Newcastle fan, surely he's in it for the money. But my dad went over about 15 years ago with a load of his colleagues. He used to work in a pub. And my dad worked with his cousin. And he had a season ticket. He'd been a fan since the 90s, like. And they started going over the bad Mike Ashley days. Like, if you remember that banana kit, the Adidas one, it's like, and the Northern Rock sponsor, like, those are the days he started to go over. And, like, yeah, they're just awful. And he'd go, and it'd just be a bit of fun, really. But they started to really get into the football, like, over there. And then when I started to get an interest in football as well, I said, who should I be supporting? And he goes, go support Newcastle with me. So I started watching matches with them. And then in about 2015, I think it was, the year we got relegated. 2016 maybe, I think it was. And and Sunderland won against, I think it might be Everton, like 3-1 or something, and that sent us down. And I remember hearing that on the radio. It was like, well. It didn't really matter that much to me. And then the year after, I went to my first soccer match ran. So, and it was in the championship, and it was against Ipswich. And what's his name? Sorry, Didsey was on the bench for all the Irish fans, and Iosi Perez scored less than a minute in, and place went mad, and I was in love already with it. We won 3-0, thankfully, and then Iosi Perez went and broke my heart after. And then the summer before that was Euro 2016, and that was the first tournament really for Ireland that I would have cared about. Thankfully, I didn't care about Euro 2012 too much because it didn't end well for us. But Euro 2016, we went on a run really. I remember that Wes Hoolahan goal, Shell's legend as well. He scored against Sweden for 1-1. And then I remember watching that. My dad was over the moon with that as well. My whole family. Like, everyone in Ireland, you hear about stories of Italian 90, and you just hope, when is that going to happen again for us? And then I remember it so clearly, Robbie Brady scoring against Italy in the last group game to send us out of the groups, and the group of death as well. No one would have expected for Ireland to get out of that group, and we did, and it was just brilliant. And then the France game didn't end too well for us, unfortunately. We were ahead, so that just got me hooked really in the sport.
I love how I mentioned Italian 90 there. Everyone here talks about Italian 90 quite a lot just as well.
Yeah, I know.
But so Newcastle United.
Yeah.
And, so St James's Park, right? I've still yet to visit. Well, I've been on the tour.
I very much recommend it, but getting tickets now is like gold dust. So you have to have your connections anyway.
Absolutely, and in years gone by, they've been saying there's been like 10,000 empty seats thanks to Mr. Ashley. But
we sold out most weeks in the championship, to be fair. So
a winning team, don't they?
Hopefully,
of course, yeah. So on to Shelburne then. So when people over here think about Irish football, they think of Shamrock Rovers and Bohemians. But what about Shelburne? So
Shells are, before Dundalk went on a mad run in the mid 2010s. Shells were the second most successful team in the country, and recently, since early 2000s, they've gone into a bit of like financial mismanagement, and only the last 2 years they've got themselves back into the top flight. But past 15 years, they've been dreadful, up and down. They've become a yo-yo club, banter club. Everyone, Shells are terrible, but thankfully now we're kind of back. And I've only been supporting Shells about nearly a year to the month. And it was when I saw an ad for the FAI Cup, so our version of the FA Cup. Yeah. And it was Shells v Bows in Talca. I said to my mate, here, why don't we go down to this ticket to like a $5? Yeah, it'd be good fun anyway. Because all that European Super League stuff had happened about a year previously, and it's just like, you look at all them English teams that people be supporting here, like United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, whatever. It's great doing that, but you also, if you love football, you need to get into just going to games as well, because it's completely different. And we won 3-0 that game, and it was just brilliant. Like, the place was mad. And I was joining the chants, and I hadn't a clue what they were saying, but I was still just trying to make noise anyway. And I looked back at what I was saying, I was like, what are you doing, man? But I was getting involved. Like, and then I went to every home game for the rest of that season. I think it was 6 or 7 that we had. And I was immediately hooked. And then this year I bought my first season ticket. So, there we go.
First of many.
Yeah.
Do you go away with them as well?
I started going away with them this summer, but like, I'm only a young lad, so realistically I'll only be able to go to the Dublin grounds. And I hope to be going to Darragh at the end of the season as well. So, like, my dad has absolutely no interest. He's only gone to one match, like one Shells match. None of my family do. It's just me and my mates. Like,
yeah. Oh, it's good fun though, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. It's brilliant.
People only support Premier League teams in this country have no idea
exactly
the difference between going to a game. They might lower leagues, going to a game full stop, and then watching it on telly.
Like,
no idea.
I would have been on Twitter like last year before I started supporting Shells, and I just hear all these people, support your logo, but they're right, and it gets so annoying. But they're so right. You're a Mansfield fan, you could have support whatever, Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday, but going to the lower league teams, and like, it's so brilliant. And you don't get grounds like you do in Ireland, like you would in England, especially in like Tolka is. I don't see Tolka as that brilliant of a stadium, but then I heard the things you say about it, and like, actually, yeah, it is. Like, broken chairs, every second chair is broken or something. There's weeds growing down the back. Like, one stand has no seats in it anymore. It's condemned. It's just brilliant, all of it.
And just on that point, one thing I marked Bramall Lane in Hillsborough down, just a little Christmas, the pillars.
Tolka has that. Tolka Park has that because I know it. I said it adds to the experience, because when Shells are playing bad, a lot of your view is restricted, and sometimes that's not an issue for me. But the ground hasn't seen any proper renovations since like the 80s or 90s. Like, it hasn't been touched.
No. And yeah, me and Skelton were saying on the way back, like, if that ground was in England, I'd tell you now that it'd be. There's a ground as well, 100 grounds to visit in UK. So that easily be one of them. Tolka, easy.
Yeah, it's so cool. Like,
I really liked Dalymount Park when I went.
I was at Dalymount a few weeks ago, and I was only in the way end. That part of Phibsborough where Dalymount is a bit like. Did you see the shopping centre before you walked in? Yeah, that was voted the most ugly building in Dublin a few years ago, and it just shows. I don't understand what they're thinking when they build things like that. And Dalymount has fallen apart. They found they demolished the stand a few months ago, and they found asbestos in it. And there's a little tiny away stand is a tiny thing. You can only get 450 away fans now.
Yeah,
it's like, but the other stand, the Jody, which I haven't been in before. That it does actually seem cool. There's do you know who Phil Lynott is?
I've heard the name, I can't say.
Yeah, but he was a famous musician from Dublin, and he played there. And they have a big mural of him. There's a Jack Charlton one as well, and a Bob Marley one. So
yeah, I've seen Bob Marley one.
Yeah, grounds have character here, unlike a lot of them in England. Like Wigan Stadium, just a bowl. Southampton and Leicester are just soulless, but they're the same stadium nearly. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're absolutely right there. Yeah, definitely. Well, I know my good mate's a Rotherham fan, and Rotherham hate Sheffield Wednesday. That's their team. Not so much Sheffield United. They're fine with them. The 18th United Wednesday they can't stand. And I've been to Sheffield Wednesday away with them. It was on telly last year on a Sunday morning. Hillsborough, it's fun.
Yeah. The Newcastle fans had an issue with that last year because I think some staircase collapse or something. There's some article about it I saw on Twitter, and they were going mad about it because it was unsafe. So I think they sold too many away tickets or something for Hillsborough. But of a stadium where something has happened before there, you don't really want that going out about it.
Yeah, I suppose, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah. So to an outsider, not many people know about Irish football.
And they should.
It goes under the radar an awful lot.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I could talk all day to anybody about my night at Shells that night, and so can Skelton.
Yeah.
When people over here think Irish football, they think Shamrock Rovers and Bows. But what do you like the most about Irish football? You would tell to people.
It'd be quicker to say what I don't like about Irish football, if I'm being honest. So, like, just the main thing I like is just going to games. Yeah. Like, obviously, I love watching Newcastle on telly, and people love watching United, whatever their teams. But I have such a bigger connection with Shelbourne than I do with Newcastle. Yeah. And if you go to games, you're going to have a bigger connection with your team. Like, over the summer, I barely thought about Newcastle. Obviously, I was looking at transfers and things, but it was just shells, everything. Where's the next game? Booking trains, whatever, buses. How do I get to these games? Everything. And it's just like, it's something you don't get going. Like, that's the big problem in this country. People wonder why our national team are so terrible and we don't qualify for tournaments. It's because people on a Saturday would rather sit down in the front room and watch the Premier League instead of going out on a Friday night to watch a proper football match. Like,
yeah, it doesn't even clash.
Exactly, it's on a Friday night, so there's no excuses.
Do you know what? For people like me, it's actually a shame because any spare Friday I get, which isn't very often. I mean, it is this time of year,
Yeah.
But when I can actually book it off, but because if it was on a Saturday, I'd be on me probably fifth time now going to Dublin. But
yeah.
well, obviously, if Sligo Rovers was a bit closer, then maybe. But
yeah.
I mean, but other than that, you've not even got a clash.
Exactly. Like, I get home from school and me and my mates would be like, "Oh, I can't wait for tonight. It's gonna be brilliant." And like, our last class was just like, "Oh, who do you think's gonna win? Who's starting tonight?" Everything. Like discussing the other team, and it's just brilliant. Like, you don't really, and then you go home, get stuff ready, get changed, and then you're out again for the match. And like, you saw that atmosphere. Like, you don't get atmosphere like that in England. I saw the Mansfield vlog, which is quite good as well. But when that goal went into the night, that just shows, like, it's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, people don't know this, but I was holding onto my phone for dear life because I was looking at it. Yeah, and I know you right in front of me as well, going absolutely, and then the fireworks, that bomb. I know. I love pyros. In England, they're absolutely, well, they're not detested, but they aren't well by security and stewards.
Yeah,
but
they're
that much of a.
They technically are. But people, you just give them to the kids when you're walking and you're like, hold that for me. And then, there you go. So, yeah. And like the singing sections, like where you were as well, like for Shells, they play such a big part. I don't think people realise that. I firmly believe, like the other night, if we were making as much noise as we were, there's no way we would have won that match at all. No. Exactly.
And there's no way we'd have equalised the other night, madam.
Exactly. Yeah,
no chance.
I saw that.
Behind the team, it works.
Your man at the drum in the away end is quite good.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, it's a good away end. Donny Rovers ground, as you've seen, it's a bowl.
Yeah, it's hard to make atmosphere. There's no character there.
I mean, I still gave it 7 out of 10. I mean, a good Leicester, I think the same as well. I do.
Yeah.
Something about.
They're just they're carbon copies of each other.
Yeah. They are, but like with Donny Rovers in particular, Dan, this is the same for the home end. There's actually a little section where you can put the drum, where the guy can stand and just play it all game.
Yeah.
So that sort of thing I do like because that gives it a bit of an edge.
Yeah.
Which I've marked up on, and obviously I do like the outside of the ground. I do mark it from the outside rather than just the inside as well when I do mark. But when you mentioned there, like you've got so much more connection with Shells than Newcastle. I'll give you an example. Now, I've as a kid always been a massive Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
Let's say Liverpool draw Mansfield in the FA.
You're going to go for Mansfield, of course, yeah.
In the away end at Anfield.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have any issue with that. I mean, I probably wouldn't be as crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if it was playing Man United or Everton or Man City or Chesterfield in our case. But like if it was Mansfield at home, I'd feel really bad going in the away end with the Liverpool fans rather than going in the away end with the Mansfield fans because they do have that bit more connection. So you're definitely right about that.
And I suppose it's easier for me because unless Shells magically start playing the Champions League, which isn't going to happen, unfortunately, in my lifetime, they're never going to play Newcastle. So I don't see why people wouldn't go and support their Irish team.
Well, On that note, now I remember a couple of years ago. This is before COVID, but they were planning on doing a Club World Cup, like proper summer Club World Cup, rather than
Yeah.
that 4-game tournament they do after you win the Champions League.
Mm.
The Liverpool one, that proper big one. Obviously, that got scrapped. There has been talks of it. I've heard murmurs about it. That, especially now Newcastle have been taken over. You never
Exactly.
know.
I know.
1 year or something.
Yeah.
You know, you've got a chance, but obviously we don't know what choices. But that could be the gateway. Or, I mean, would Newcastle do a tour of Ireland? You don't know. Do you?
They play. I think they played Bows a few years ago.
Yeah.
But I don't think I went for some reason. But
Yeah.
there's not too many Newcastle fans in Ireland anyway, unfortunately.
Great stuff. So, we've been there for a year at Shelburne. Do you have a favourite memory at the moment?
It's a bit because I told you my first game was the 3-0.
Yeah.
And even though that was my first game, that's just still such a brilliant memory. And I think part of it is because it was my first game as well. And that was when I was just like, right, that's it. Like, I'm supporting these. But days out, we beat Waterford away to get to the cup final.
Yeah.
I scored a cracker of a goal outside the box. And I wasn't there, unfortunately. But I watched it on the telly with my mates in the front room. And we just went mad, And then when we got to the final, we don't speak about the score, really. But it was still a brilliant day out to go out. And it was the first cup final in about 10 years, I think. Something like that. We haven't won that in ages. But it was 4-0 in the end. But the atmosphere was still great. There's a massive display as well. And always good to get to Aviva with your club, because I've always gone to Ireland matches there, and not great memories, really. Being Gibraltar, way. And my best memory of Ireland at the Aviva is drawing 0-0 with Portugal. I think that just sums up how bad it is. Yeah.
And I hate 0-0s myself as well, but that'd be something.
Yeah. The other night, though, was brilliant. That was the first injury time goal that Shells have scored under Damien Duff, which how do you not know we're managed by Damien Duff? That's like, when you look up Shelburne, that comes up all the time, because every week he does something, he's in the news annoying people. Because he's probably, at the moment, he's probably the biggest household name in the league, because I'd tell you the Shamrock Rovers manager, Stephen Bradley, you wouldn't have a clue who he is. But you go, Damien Duff, oh, no way, Damien Duff. He's also special to me as well, even though he wasn't great in Newcastle the few years he was there. But it's still cool. The other night was brilliant as well. That's something that'll stick with me.
Yeah.
So
you never forget your last minute winners.
Yeah. And it was the only injury time goal that had affected the outcome of a match, I think it was. Because we scored 3 before, but we'd still won, or we'd only lost, or whatever. But then but the last year we played Rovers at home as well, and this is only my second game, and someone had thrown a bourbon biscuit onto the pitch, at the linesman, and the match was stopped for about 10 minutes, and I was like, "What's going on?" The linesman had gone off for a bit, I think, and a fella, do you know the way the bars at Talca, fella looks over the bar, fella looks over the bars and he goes, "It's a bourbon biscuit." It's a bourbon biscuit. Someone's thrown a bourbon biscuit over. And then over the intercom they go, "Please not throw projectiles onto the pitch or the match will be abandoned." Stuff like that, just small things are brilliant that you don't forget. You wouldn't get that at Old Trafford or anything. Yeah. Or the Etihad getting a bourbon biscuit thrown on the pitch and getting the match stopped.
I'll tell you the other night as well, stewards came up while we were in the away end and looking for this lad. I won't name him, but after that we started, everyone couldn't find him, or either he wouldn't own up. I don't know why they needed him. Got announced on the tunnel and we were all singing, "There's only one."
Yeah. Yeah, like the Shamrock Rovers chant.
Every different song, honestly, it was hilarious.
Yeah.
So, other than Tolka, what other grounds have you visited? What's the best ground you've visited out of any grounds you've visited?
In the league,
where in the world?
I have an Irish one and I have some foreign ones as well.
Okay.
But in the League of Ireland, obviously I'd say Talca, but other than Talca, it has to be Richmond Park, which is St. Pat's ground. Dalymount is good as well, but it's not a really good away experience at the moment. You walk in through the gates, and it looks like a prison. It honestly looks like a prison trying to get into the stand. It's mad. And Richmond is just a nice ground. Inchicore in South Dublin, where it is, isn't very nice. To say the least, really. You get off the Lewis, the tram, and you're trying to speed towards the ground, really, before anyone gives you a knock on the head or something for wearing a Shell's top. But my dad's friend told me a story, and he used to work for Shamrock Rovers, and he lives in Inchicore, and he was there one night getting off the Lewis, and when you get off the stop for Richmond Park, you either go through the housing estate to get to the stadium, or you go backwards, and there's a load of apartments behind you. And I think he lives beside the apartments, so we walked past the apartments, and he was wearing a long Rovers jacket, and had the little green badge there, and suddenly you hear someone shouting up at him from the very top of the apartments, like, "Get out of here, you Rover scum!"
Yeah. And
he said it was like being in Death Valley, someone shouting down at him, but they just saw a little small badge, and they're going mad, things like that. But Richmond's one of the only grounds in the league with all four sides actually in use, and the four stands aren't bad. The away end is all right, really. It's an Irish away end. There's grand access, chip fans, toilets are grand, but there's no barriers, there's no bars or anything, so you're there just standing and just sit down on the ground then at half time. But other than that, it's lovely. There's trees as well on the other side. I know it's a weird thing to like, but the trees are nice. That's probably the best in Ireland. So
interesting. It's a high rating for me then, maybe as high as
Talca. No, definitely not. Not as much character as Talca.
Okay.
But then outside of Ireland, I went to Tottenham away 2 years ago, and the Tottenham Stadium is just brilliant. It's the pinnacle of a match day experience, really. Although it's a trek to get to, you have to go to 3 different underground stops. It's great. The food is. I was going to a gourmet restaurant. I was having these chicken goujons, and I see the people making them. They're full-on chefs with the mad hats, and you can get pizza. You can get bao buns. I don't know what they were. You get noodles. There's their own brewery in the stadium, and you put your cup down, and the beer fills up from it. The big massive line bar. Yeah. And I was up at I wasn't in the away end because Newcastle away tickets. Good luck getting them. Yeah. But I was in the home end. And I was at the very top, and I was seats probably won't be great. Looking down, and it's brilliant. There's not a bad view in the stadium. It's so good. And Fabian Schär scored a free kick about half an hour in, I want to say. I was down the other end, and I remember my dad just standing up and clapping, and I was like, "Get down, get down! They care here in this country. You have to be careful." And then the away, Newcastle away was right down below us, and a fella set off a flare, and all the smoke just rose up to us. And then we lost 5-1 in the end, unfortunately, and had to walk back to the station with all the Tottenham fans singing in my ear while I was in my Newcastle top. So it wasn't a great experience, really, but the stadium itself is brilliant, and I know you can do the skywalk all the way around. The trophy cabinet's a bit disappointing, but I can't talk much being a Newcastle fan, really. So, yeah. What they've done with that stadium is mad. Have you seen the video of the pitch going into the car park? And they raised the NFL one. That's crazy for a stadium.
Yeah, I've done the Skywalk. I've done the tour. The Skywalk is amazing. Absolutely, if I recommend it to anybody. I've actually been to watch it for NFL as well. My brother on his birthday, his team were playing on his 20th birthday. That's
a good coincidence, eh?
Yeah, we sat right at the top near the big stands at the back. Yeah, it really is mesmerising, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to going back there to watch Tottenham one day, definitely.
You just look around and you're in awe of the stadium. You're like, oh my God. And then it's quite a contrast going to Talca then on a Friday. And then you're in the Tottenham Stadium the day after. But some other good ones there. I was in the Camp Nou. Yeah. Fortunately enough, that's a brilliant stadium. The tour, they just let you walk about.
Done that, yeah.
This is the most famous stadium in the world. Just let me walk around for willy-nilly. Croke Park's brilliant. I'm lucky enough to have a Dublin season ticket as well.
Yeah.
So I'd go to nearly every Dublin game in Croke Park anyway. It's always a great day out as well. Every time I get a chance to go to Croke Park, I do. And I recommend you go there as well. There's no games on this time of year, but the Skywalk is brilliant. I've done that nearly 3 times. I think tour however many times. But it's just brilliant, and it's a really important site of Irish history as well. Lots of things happen there that are important. St James's Park is brilliant as well. I know I haven't been to many grounds in England, but that's whenever I see a list of grounds in England, that's always near the top. And there's a reason, because it is amazing.
Yeah.
I sit up the very top of the Melbourne as well. That's the only tickets I can get, but I don't complain. You're lucky enough to get into the ground now.
Yeah.
So the atmosphere is incredible as well. And the people are just so sound. Like, you can talk to Geordie for hours about anything. And then I've been to the Stadio de Luz in Lisbon as well. Benfica stadium, that's a real good stadium as well. And they let the hawk fly around the ground like before a match. Like that, where else do you get that? Just let a hawk fly about. And it's designed by the same architect as the Emirates as well. That's really interesting.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, a wide variety, definitely. I've done this
exactly. Yeah,
new camp. Well, I mean, next time got a new camp, it'll look totally different.
Yeah, I know. They're tearing it down. I don't know where they're getting that money from.
Yeah, I don't.
Exactly.
Something not right there, but yeah, for better or for worse, we'll find out, of course.
Yeah.
So we've had the best. What about the worst? Which ones don't you like?
There's some really bad grounds in Ireland, like Finn Park up in Donegal. It's like, I haven't been because Finn Harps got relegated last year, and it's in Donegal. I'm not going to Donegal on a Friday night, really. I have better things to be doing. But the worst ground I've definitely been to is the UCD Bowl. And the actual grounds around it are lovely. It's in like one of the poshest places in Dublin, Belfield. And the walk from the train station, like, oh my God, I'd love to live here. It's like €2 million house, €3 million house, students' accommodation over there. And the grounds go, like, the gardens going towards the stadium, they're all perfectly chopped and the hedges are nice. And it was a real sunny day when I went a few weeks ago. And we won 4-0. But UCD, I think they just sucked the soul out of people or something, because we won. I thought I said there we won 4-0, but I left feeling like so disappointed for some reason. It just sucks the life out of you, that stadium, because I don't know how UCD have been in the league this long. It's mad. They just play such terrible football. It's awful to watch, even if your team wins.
Well, might not be for much longer, as the Irish League not doing too well.
Yeah,
are they?
No. Galway, getting Galway up will be good. I wouldn't mind going to Galway.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that place.
Yeah,
definitely as a city.
Mm-hmm.
What about fan bases then? Who's the best and worst fans you've seen?
I'm going to be very biased here. Obviously, in Ireland, of course, it's going to be Shells, and in England, of course, it's going to be Newcastle. But I don't think that they're two very controversial opinions, especially the Newcastle one. Like, a lot of atmosphere, like you can't beat up there on a night game. Like, Champions League games are going to be, people are going to be having noise complaints in Sunderland with the amount of noise there. And my first match since the takeover was Everton last year in October. And it was when Almiron decided he wanted to win a Ballon d'Or. And he just went on a run of about 20 games, getting a goal or an assist. And he scored an absolute peach of a goal from outside the box. And I remember watching it go over Pickford's little tiny hands. And just curls over him, and the place goes mad. And the Bladen races before, and Hey Jude, and all the flags are... I'm in awe looking at the place, because only a few years ago I was there, and it was dead. And no one was up singing. Flags were nowhere to be seen. And they had... the big surfer flag there as well that goes all the way up the laser stand, and there's one that says "We Are the Mags." So let's get your photo of it, because it's just so cool, and you can tell it definitely elevates the team as well. Like the 1-5-1 last week, definitely due to what War Flags are doing, and their first cup final, getting to win the semi-final in St James's with Sean Longstaff scoring as well. Like, things like that just elevate it so much.
Absolutely does, yeah. And I can remember 5 years ago now. It's October 2018. I had a mate who lived here. He's from Chicago, from America. Made friends with a group of friends who I met. After I met him, it's the 21st birthday party in Leeds. Because it was my birthday the week after. I invited him out. I'd just been to America that year, from enough. But for America, he wanted to have his. How old would he have been? Yeah, I think he's 23. I think 24. I've been 24, same year as me. He wanted to have his birthday in Newcastle because he heard so many things about a Newcastle night out. So we all went up. Now we parked up because we got an Airbnb. We had a shared house, and we were pretty close to St James. We walked past it on the way down.
It's mad. It's mad. The ground is right in the middle of the city. Like you get out of I'd get out of a Monument, that metro station instead of St James's, and you get out of Monument and you can see it. You go past Fenwick's and you see it. It's on a hill. It's mad. And you can see it coming in from the plane as well. Everything surrounds St James's. Everyone waits for the Saturday or the Sunday over their plane for Newcastle to play. And it sounds weird, but you can tell people are happier in the city because it's a one-team city, other than league teams like Gateshead, North Shields, whatever. Like people are happier. Like a few years ago, like you'd go into the Straw before a game, mood's a bit dull, and I went in a few months ago, and everyone's going mad. Like the places, people are singing, everything, talking, happy, everything with each other. It's so much, just makes such a difference.
Yeah, it does, yeah. And like I say, I was walking past it that day at about 4:15. I could not hear a thing. I thought, are they playing? I thought, this is Newcastle. Obviously, Mike, in the middle of Mike Ashley's they lost 1-0 to Brighton. Well, he just summed it up really. Rafa Benitez as manager.
Yeah.
It was a sorry time, I think, for being Newcastle. But like you
said, I felt so bad for him because anyone that did any good in that club during the Mike Ashley era would just boot it out or said, "Don't like you. You're happy." Like moving Shearer's statue to the other side of the ground, he moved it to the other side of the road because Shearer said bad things. Rename the Shearer's bar to 9 Bar, like an iconic bar. Like the Strawberry and that are two most iconic bars in Newcastle, I'd say. And he goes and renames it because Shearer says some not nice things, and then Shearer sold his box then as well. After that, and then when he fired Jonas Gutierrez over the phone after he'd beat cancer and kept us up the same year, things like that. Just I don't think he'd be ever able to step foot in Newcastle again. He'd be having his head called.
Well, funnily enough, I was obviously head of Sports Direct. He actually had the headquarters just about a couple of miles down the road from me. Well,
God!
In our actual town, Shirebrook, Mansfield, little town centre. And apparently, I have stories. He's barred from every bar in Newcastle, so he goes over here by helicopter. He drinks in Mansfield.
Have you ever heard of John Delaney before?
I've heard the name, yes.
Yeah, so he was the CEO of the FAI for years.
Yeah.
And I think he was wealthy from his dad. I don't know the full story, but pretty much he got away from stealing millions off the FAI for years. And then he had birthday parties worth something like 60,000. Just spending it on rubbish. And the FAI and the IRFU, the Irish Rugby Foundation, or Irish Rugby Football Union, I think that's what it stands for. They're still paying off the Aviva, pretty much. Every month they're still paying however much you need to. When Croke Park was built, or renovated more, and they had it paid off in a few years. It's things like that. They just had no sight, they no vision going forward or anything. No. And if he was at some sort of match a few weeks ago and people are going mad, but if he ever stepped foot in any ground and around again, he'd be killed. Same with Thierry Henry as well.
Oh yeah.
Obviously that word's not allowed in this country, but he's the assistant manager of Belgium, and we played them in a friendly summer last year, and he was over, and because it's only friendly, atmosphere wasn't great, but the loudest part of the game wasn't when Chelsea Ogbene scored an overhead kick. It was when they put Thierry Henry on the big screen, and the whistles and the screams and the roars were bigger than a goal.
Such a shame. One of the most elegant, greatest strikers of all time.
That's the thing. People say, who's the best Premier League striker? Or best Premier League player? I'm mostly going to shift one way with a certain Newcastle striker.
Yeah.
And people say Henry, but I can I can never get back that, obviously, for bias.
Don't blame you as well. Obviously, that referee who didn't give that goal that we got against Germany, Frank Lampard, as well.
Yeah, but he's lost that game anyway. You talk about that constantly. And he did the same in 66 anyway.
Yeah, we did.
When that goal went over the line, apparently.
It evened itself out. But I'll tell you a funny story once. I mean, because people in Newcastle know of the town, little town of Shirebrook where we are. And they went far. I think he was on phone to a travel agent regarding a holiday. And he was a Geordie, and he says, "Excuse me, man, you live in Shirebrook, do you?" I was like, "Yeah." He says, "Oh, could you do me a favour?" I was like, "Yeah, could you go up to Sports Direct, headbutt Mike Ashley for me?" They all exactly the same. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, definitely.
There's a Sports Direct on, I want to say it's North Grey Street, I think, in town. I don't know the exact street, but it's where I'd get off the bus going into the city centre. And I passed by and I just look at it with disgust. I'm like, I'm spitting at the doors, like, get away from me.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Right, so is there any ground in the world or any?
Oh, sorry, did I not say the worst? Did I not say the worst fans? No.
Yeah, sorry, worst fans. Yeah, go on, worst fans.
Yeah. Worst fans, if I can say, are UCD. There's a big shock for everyone. Yeah, the very few of them that there is. There's a few lads a few weeks ago, and I don't know if they robbed the drum off their music teacher or something, but they brought it to the Shells match and they started going, oh, UCD. And they made a TikTok account and everything about it. And people just laughing at them. Fair play for them, again, going to support their local, because it's more than, I think, 90% of football fans in Ireland do.
Yeah.
But I try to get you the photo of it. 2 fans went to Cork last week. They played Cork last week. They drew 1-1. 2. There's 2 away fans. 2. Yeah, and they brought a drum. I'd say they were in their 30s. Brought a drum and they brought a load of flags. And they're just there drumming the whole game, waving the flag about. It was brilliant.
You have to respect that, don't you? 2 of them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fantastic.
But it is hard to get behind the college team, really. They have quite a high turnover in players. No player really sticks around there at all. So it's hard to get behind them. Yeah.
Nothing to moan about, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Not for long, hopefully.
No, they probably won't survive the season, will they?
No.
Unless Cork just lose every single game.
But they could, or Sligo as well, at this stage.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. But
yeah.
Any ground in the world you'd love to visit, or any away day that you're looking forward to?
Ground I'd like to visit. It's a bit cliche, but the San Siro is just like a brilliant piece of architecture, and I'd say one of the most iconic grounds in the world, because the matches and the players that have been played there are mad. Like, there's that photo of Materazzi and Maldini, and they're on each other's shoulder, and the players on the pitch. I just love that ground so much. Like, it's so old-fashioned, and the last time it was renovated was for Italian 90, when they put all the multicoloured seats in. And have you seen the toilets before?
I've seen it on a vlog. Yeah,
they're holes in the ground. For like, yeah,
believe me, I have been.
Yeah, probably. Have you ever heard the story of the Holy Vespa?
No, go on, do tell.
Right. Well, in 2001, a group of Inter fans stole a Vespa scooter off an Atalanta fan outside the ground. And they somehow snuck it past security, obviously very rigorous, and brought it up to the upper deck of the San Siro, where they set it on fire and threw it over the barricade and down into the section below, which was empty. But I think it might have been in protest of some sort. I don't think they just did it for the crack, like. But things like that just make the San Siro brilliant, I think.
I'd be glad seeing that.
Yeah, I know.
That's. I have to tell you, what's the most bizarre thing you've seen at a football match? Well,
a motorbike on fire came crashing down beside me actually one time. Like,
oh, well, we had a story up north in the County Durham near Newcastle area.
Yeah.
Gates said we're away in a pre-season friendly to a little.
Oh yeah, is this the motorcade? Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it?
Car on the pitch.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were doing. Apparently, one of them had a gun.
It looked like a hearse or something.
A hearse, yeah.
Yeah.
In protest of a chair, I don't know, but I don't think we ever got to the bottom of that. Why?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's everyone say a group chat. You see what's happening at Dunster? I looked on Twitter like, what on earth is that doing?
Yeah. The San Siro isn't being demolished now, apparently, as well. The Council of Milan said it's too much of like a cultural heritage site for the city.
Yeah,
so that's real good.
Tear down.
Yeah.
Too big to tear down. I mean, I've got a few friends who support York City in the former football league.
They've quite a modern ground, don't they, for non-league?
They do now, but they didn't. They have one of the most characteristic grounds in the country, I'd say, Cleveland Crescent. And when I mentioned I've been in worse toilets, right, never going in there again. That was horrendous toilets.
My dad was at the Hawthorns years ago in West Brom's ground, and he just said, I would actually never go back if someone paid me. It was that much of a shithole.
Yeah.
I'm just, oh my god. Yeah, but that's because there's no character in grounds in England. You see some grounds a kip, and you're like, oh yeah, you saw a ball. Pretty much.
I guess that's where my taste comes from, really.
Yeah.
I'm just used to it, and then I go to a Graham's abroad, and wow, now we're talking.
Yeah. Proper football.
Yeah, but yeah, San Siro again. I've got to get there at some stage. I'm hopefully, maybe in October when it's my birthday. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, which away day are you looking forward to the most with Shelburne? If you've got one. It's not gone yet, maybe.
Either Drogheda or Rovers, because Drogheda I can get trains easy enough to get to Drogheda, but I think it's like a half an hour walk from the train station. Because in like small little towns in Ireland, there's no public transport. In places like Cork, you get the train down to Cork, 3-hour train, I think it is, or 2.5 hours maybe. And my mate who was there with us, he's a good bit older than me, but he goes to all the away games and he goes on his own, some of them like to Cork. And it's a 45-minute walk from the train station to Turner's Cross in Cork, like things like that, because there's no public transport there, obviously, in Cork. So getting to stadiums that I can only really go to stadiums that I can easily access with transport and stuff. So the two of them would be Bowes as well.
Yeah.
We're not great in Dalymount. We haven't won. I don't think we've won there since we've been promoted. Yeah. But we usually play well in Tallaght Stadium at Rovers, and Drogheda as well. I haven't been there before, so hope to go there.
Yeah. Great stuff. Yeah. Do you have like a supporters coach that takes you to games?
We do, yeah, but I'm not really in that, to be honest, because I've never got it before, but I know people who are in it.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be easy enough getting you to places like Derry and Sligo.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't be going to Derry or Sligo at quarter date on a Friday night, getting home at 2 a.m.
Well, Sligo are Saturday days, aren't they? I don't know why they play on Saturdays when everyone plays on Friday, but yeah, that's...
Yeah, there was sometimes I do it on a Saturday because, like, it's very hard for away fans to get there, obviously.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, great stuff. Right, so I'll wrap it up then. So this question we asked everybody. We've had some really good ones over the years. So sum up football in 3 words. Now you can have 3 separate words or a 3-word phrase. Up to you. Be creative.
I have 3 separate words. So I have unpredictable.
Yep.
I have chaotic.
Yep.
And most importantly, it's impactful. Like, I don't think people who aren't interested in soccer, they won't understand how much it impacts people's lives. You'd be going around all around England, going to grounds and stuff like. And that's just most of the conversations I have with people are about soccer and football, and you don't even realize it. Like, all I wear is soccer. I have a massive like soccer collection up in my room, or soccer jersey collection in my room, and like football has this weird ability. I keep trying not to say soccer because I know that's the taboo, but football has a weird ability to like unite people that nothing else in the world can. Like, I've never been allowed to see Ireland in a World Cup, thanks to Thierry. And hopefully one day when we're actually good, we seem to be have an alright squad now. But I was telling you before, my dad just tells me all the time, every single time Ireland play, they'll never be as good as the 90s. Italian 90 was brilliant. Every person in Ireland, every young person will be able to tell you where their parents were when Paki Bonner saved the penalty against Romania. And they just tell you how crazy the country went. Everywhere shut down. Everyone was talking about it. People were on top of cars moving with Ireland flags in their hands. There's videos of the city centre, people climbing up on statues, waving flags and going mad. People who wouldn't even care about football normally loved it anyway. Same with USA 94, 2002 in Japan as well. Who knows what could have happened if Roy Keane just kept his mouth shut, and Mick McCarthy wasn't so bad to him. But,
unpredictable, chaotic, and impactful. Not had those three.
Yeah.
Three separate ones.
Tried to be creative.
No, yeah. Absolutely did. Passionate's the main one. Everybody uses that one.
Yeah, the cliche.
Not every
people say passionate and they support United and watch them on the telly every week.
Yeah.
So
non-league.
Exactly.
I ain't got a clue. But I'll tell you the best 3-word quote we had. This was on our last episode. Some guy said, "Never forget why." I thought it was really interesting. You could use that for anything, really. Never forget why. Never forget why you do it. He says. Really interesting.
For the love of it.
For the love of it, of course, mate. But honestly, thank you very much for last week.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, it was a brilliant video as well.
Yeah, I look forward to.
Thanks for having me.
No, great stuff. Hopefully, we'll speak again soon, and I look forward to sharing this with all your friends.
Yeah. If you ever come into Tolka again, honestly, just give me a shout on Twitter, and I wouldn't mind doing.
I wouldn't mind it. A Shell's away day. There's one away.
Yeah.
I'd probably be able to make, and that's probably Sligo because it's on a Saturday.
I wouldn't be going to that anyway. So actually, it depends what time it's at. If it's at 4 o'clock or so, if it's at 4 or 5, I might be going. I don't know, but I don't know if many go. You see, to Sligo. If it's a Dublin away day, they're playing Rovers. I want to say the 1st of October. It's around October time anyway. It's on a Friday night, so that would be probably the last good away day. And I would say Bows as well, because Bows would be the team I dislike the most of them out. Older fans would hate Pats more, but recently it's been Bows for younger Shells fans. I would say Bows free to go, Bows away, but there's only 450 tickets, and I barely got one, and I have a season ticket, so that just shows.
I don't think they give you the back stand like they would Shamrock, would they?
No. It's because they're building a new one, so they've only put up a temporary one.
Yeah. But no. But this has been the FANA Fan Podcast. Thank you, Darragh. We'll see you.
Thank you. See you later.